Bass heads, what's good? Welcome to another video. If we haven't met yet, my name is Ted and I talk bass. I help aspiring bass players find more joy, play with more confidence on the electric bass without diving too deep into complicated music theory. Today we're going to talk about major scales, why those things are important. I'm going to give you some tools to memorize those shapes on the neck. You ready? Let's go. The first one is going to be memorizing the scale shape or the scale pattern and the fingering. And so the way that we're going to tackle that is we're going to only work on one shape at a time, right? We live in this world where we're getting information, so much information. It's like, well, what do I do now? What do I do next? We're going to do one thing at a time and be intentional about it. So I'm going to use my second finger. I'm going to put it on the A string. That's the 5th fret of the E string. And right now, I'm only going to call out the fingers that I'm using. When I'm calling out numbers right now, I'm calling out the finger that I'm using. So, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4. Once again, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4. Let's talk about the physical challenges that you might be facing building up strength in this hand. Now, there is no magic pill. I don't have a hack or a trick. What I can tell you is that listening to your body is important and being intentional is important. But let me give you a couple of things to think about. Watch this. Second finger. See how my hand moves slightly? So I'm playing just behind that fret. You can barely, so there's the fret, and I'm playing just behind that fret. Anytime I'm talking about low or behind, I'm talking about that way or this way. It's a little bit weird, but we're talking about pitches, okay? How high or low a note sounds. So when I play that note with intention, the next note with intention, notice my hand moves ever so slightly. I'm not trying to keep that finger down over there because the finger that is playing closest this way is the one that's making the note, right? Even though all of my fingers are down, that finger is playing that note. You can take the scale and play these patterns. You know what I'm saying? So you can make little patterns. There's all kinds of patterns that you can make. The key there is to listen to your body, take your time, move your hand ever so slightly, and be intentional about the notes that you're playing. Now, another thing is you might be having a hard time hearing the scale. You know, the major scale is one of the most, well, it's the most important scale because it's like the mother of all harmony, right? And when you're playing these scales and you're learning these patterns, you get a physical thing, but it's not really connected to your head, in my opinion, until you connect it to your voice as well. One of the ways that I suggest doing that is singing that pattern, right? Getting that in your head. Now this scale shape is movable. Right? Don't run from your voice, right? once you connect your voice to your hands and your head, then that stuff gets ingrained in you. Also, particularly here in the West, right? In Western music, we've been hearing this our whole lives since kindergarten, right? So let's say I took one of these melodies that I've heard as a child, right? Da 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 5-1. We're not gonna dig too deep into theory, but da da da. Now, you see where I'm going? Da da ba da ba ba da ba da ba da 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 ba da da ba ba. That's all there in that major scale. If you saw the video I did on the Barney Miller theme, right, and using that as an etude, what we want to do is we don't want to take this stuff and learn a scale and then not learn a practical application from it, even if it's something so elementary or rudimentary, right? But I'm hoping that you see my point, right? To find different little melodies, and for some reason, those are the two that came to my mind. They're quote unquote happy. I don't really love using those terminologies, but major, happy. Anyway, those are some ways that you can get into hearing major scale shapes and being able to, that starts to make you focus on different ways of using the fingers in that box, right? Without hunting and pecking for them all over the net. Let's talk about the lack of immediate gratification. So, the truth of the matter is that, this doesn't happen overnight, right? It didn't happen overnight for me. It won't happen overnight for you. It happens over time. But do I suggest doing this over and over and over again? Not necessarily. That may have its that may have its merit for something, but I think to that you have to look for what the musical merit is, going right back to what I was saying before, is finding melodies. Even if you are listening to things on the radio, well, Spotify, YouTube, or something like that, and you're like, oh, you know what? That sounds, quote unquote, happy. Then let me see, can I hear that melody? Will this melody or that melody exist in this scale shape? Now let's talk common chord progressions, right? Now I'm going to go back to A, like from the top of the video. Now here's here's the next evolution. What we're going to do is we were singing those notes before. Now, and remember in the beginning, I was calling out the fingers. Now I'm going to call out the scale degrees. All that means is that degrees is the same thing as numbers. And all we're doing is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. One octave shape. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Now watch this. Here's a common chord progression. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to address the roots. I'm going to play the roots of each chord in this progression, but I'm not going to leave the major scale shape. So let's talk about 1, 4, 1. I'm sorry, 1, 4, 5. 1. And I'm for the interest of time, I'm just like play it a little bit faster. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Five, 1. Okay. What about 1, 5, 6, 4? Another very common chord progression, right? We're not talking about arpeggios right now. We're just talking about the root notes. 1, 3, 5, 6, 4. You hit it all the time. 5, 6, 4. As you learn other shapes, you'll learn different places to play that, like 1, 5, 6, 4. Okay, but keep within that scale shape. Another one is the 2, 5, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you know if this is 1, this is 2, 5, 1. You hear it all the time. 2, 5, 1. We use jazz and walking bass lines as the example a lot of times, but truth be told, that 2, 5, 1 is all over the place. Look, those are just some things to keep in mind. Remember, everything that I show you on this channel is not the way, it's just a way. So take those tips, kind of put them into practice, okay? And this video is actually a small part of a mini course that I put together over at sonofabass.com. So go check that out. We'll dive a little bit deeper into scales and some practical application, particularly the major scale, and some practical application of that scale. All right. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, concerns, suggestions, anything like that in the comments below. Most people will tell you I respond pretty quickly, typically within 24 hours. So hit me in the comments and I'll see you in the next video. Peace. 2 fingers.